Alrighty. Well, it's Monday, and I got woken up the best way possible. I got woken up by someone sending me a thread of people talking shit on the cooling mod. Now, this happens all the time, all kinds of places, so it doesn't surprise me. But this one was just so ludicrous that I have to share it with you guys because it is so, it's so asinine. I can't help but laugh. And I think that that's one thing that bugs me a lot about the internet is that some fucking moron with no understanding of how things work can say a few things and make someone think that they're intelligent and be like, oh my god, this guy is, you know, whatever. And yeah, and it's the same crew as the I've never had a problem crew. And I keep saying, well, your sample set is 1 or 2. Like, how can you pass judgment if your sample is 2, you know? Like, personally, anecdote-wise, I've had a lot of girlfriends, and I've had a lot of wives, right? So, if I was to pass judgment on women after only 2 experiences, I would have had to switch teams, right? I mean, that's kind of how it would be, right? Instead, I have the best wife in the freaking world, and we've been together for 12 years, and everything is freaking awesome, and I'm lucky. I'm the luckiest guy ever. So, anyways, so today on the internet, I get an email from a guy that says, "Hey, I've watched what you do. I appreciate what you've done, you know, with this cooling mod thing and these other mods that you do for reliability." He's like, "But this one guy said some stuff on the internet and it scares me." He says that your mod takes all the hot water from cylinder 4 and puts it back into the water pump. And oh my god, don't do this. Because it doesn't go to the radiator, he said. And that was it. That was the guy's justification. Oh, no, then he's also said, you know, and I've had my cars for X many years and I've never had a problem. Well, I mean, if your sample set is only 2 engines or 2 Subarus, then yeah, you might not have had a problem. That's totally fucking possible. But if your sample set's more than 2, then sounds like you actually had a problem. Like, let's just be honest here. So, what else did he say? He said, no, that was it. Another guy said, "Oh my god, ever since I installed this mod, my fans run more often." And then the other guy said, "Well, that's because your upper pipe is hotter and this mod is making it hotter somehow." So I thought that was really interesting. So let me address those concerns first off. He is saying that the coolant from cylinder 4 goes directly to the water pump. Well, there's this thing called a heater core that takes coolant from the upper crossover and puts it directly into the water pump. So that means coolant from all the cylinders is going directly to the water pump without going to the radiator. Oh my god, don't do that, I guess. I don't know. And if you look at the way the upper crossover pipe is constructed, more of that coolant actually comes from 2 and 4 than would from 1 and 3. So again, oh my god, don't do it. And if you look at the turbo is cooled by water from cylinder 3. So I have water that leaves cylinder 3 in the exact same spot as my mod, basically, like within like an inch. And it goes through the turbo, gets even hotter because it's cooling it off. Then it goes into the expansion tank and then goes right back to the fucking water pump without going through the radiator. Oh my god, don't do that! Like, I don't know where this dude is getting his data from, but he clearly has no concept of how the cooling system works if he's saying, holy shit, don't do exactly what the system is designed to do. Like, I don't know. And then the other guy said that his fans ran too much. Well, that obviously can't be true unless he installed the mod and didn't bleed his system properly. Nearly every single customer that has my mod has reported 5-degree Fahrenheit temperature drops on the car, average. 5 degrees. Every single person said, "Wow, dude, this is awesome. My car runs cooler than before too." Well, yes, of course it does. That's what it's designed to do. Now, the fans run off the exact same location as the indication that you're seeing. So if you're seeing 5 degrees cooler, the fans are not turning on. And if the fans are not turning on, then clearly the mod didn't cause the fans to turn on more, right? I mean, the cooling system control is not a PID control. It doesn't have a derivative element to the fan control, which means that it would see the instantaneous rate of change of the monitored parameter being coolant temp, and say, ooh, that's going up really fast. We should turn some fans on to help negate a temperature spike that may occur. That does not exist because in the Subaru system, it is not needed. The Subaru fan logic is an if-then. If the temperature is above 204 degrees, then I will run the fans in low speed. If the temperature is above 215 degrees, then I'll run the fans in high speed. And that is it. So if someone is seeing a lower temperature, then it is physically fucking impossible for the fans to run more often. That wouldn't make any sense. That just doesn't make sense. So that guy clearly installed his wrong. And then, and then the other guy comes back in and says, oh, well, don't buy Dom's mod because all he did was copy the JDM fitting. He said that I copied the diameter of it as well. Well, sure, the hose fitting is the same diameter, but the inner diameter is very different. And honestly, I had never even seen the JDM setup until about 6 months after I released my mod. And then people started saying, oh, I saw this on a 2-liter from Japan that was attached to an automatic. Like, I mean, I've been doing Subaru engines for 20-something years now. And when I made this mod, it was like 18 years of Subaru engine building experience and data collection, right? And absorbing data from thousands of people, right? My sample set's not 2. My sample set is thousands of people a year who come to me with car problems. Hey, my Subaru's doing this. What can you do? My Subaru's... So for 18 years, I've been handling people's car problems. My sample set is much larger than Joe Blow, who's never had an issue. So, no, I didn't copy the JDM fitting. I've never even seen the fucking thing. I've imported a lot of JDM engines, but they're all 207s or JDM 205s with AVCS. I never had to import a black manifold, high compression, 2-liter that came with an automatic. Like that's not my target audience, right? My target audience is guys that want to bang fucking gears and go fast. They need an engine for their bug eyes, so we import an engine. I don't put 2 liters in cars that came in 2.5s usually, so that's not a thing either. It's usually bug eyes and blob eyes need 2 liters. They want to rebuild their bottom end. I go, whoa, bro, that's like $4,000 to have the same piece of shit you had originally, because frankly, 205s are pieces of shit. You know, why not get something from Japan that has AVCS, hook up the 8 wires, and enjoy a wider power band, smoother idle, better fuel economy, faster turbo spool, and more horsepower? Like, it seemed to me to be a no-brainer, so we push a lot of swaps for 207s and AVCS 205s, because it just makes sense. Why spend $4,000 putting forged internals in a 205 to make the same power and have even less reliability now? Like, it doesn't make sense. So I import a lot of 205s and 207s for those guys, and none of them have had a fitting on the back of the head for a transmission cooler, because I don't buy automatic 2 liters. Like, this isn't something I buy. So this guy clearly has some crazy assumptions about what the hell I do. Oh, well, all he did was copy this stuff. Like, how the fuck do you know that? You know, like, personally, I'm a man of principle. And some people find comfort in religion. They find comfort in that there's a master plan and somebody up above them is guiding them through their life, and that as long as they're good and believe in this person or being, then they will live forever and they're not worried about, you know, what happens. And that's fine. If that's what you want to be, that's totally fine. My stepmom has to be that way. You know, I totally get it. But for me, I find comfort in the truth. I don't find comfort in this new wave of speculation and assumptions and the cancel culture and all that kind of crap. Like, I find comfort in the truth. And as such, my integrity is vital to my feeling of self-worth and my identity as self, right? So my self-identity is based on my integrity and my word. If a man's word isn't worth anything, that man isn't worth anything, in my opinion. Plain and simple. If you're a fucking liar, there's no room for you on this world, in my eyes. There's no, anywhere. You can just fucking die. I don't care. If you're a liar, you're not worthy of being around. Definitely not me. You're not in my circle. And so when all these people come out and they say, oh, he did this, he did that, they're saying that I'm a liar, right? They're calling me a fucking liar, basically. And I do take offense to that. I haven't been in a lot of fights in my life, but almost every single one of them where the dude got his ass knocked out was where he said, you're a liar. He called me a liar, and that's it. And that's some old-fashioned shit, I get it, but that's the way I am. And it's probably largely due to the fact that when I grew up, there was a chaotic household. My parents were divorced at a young age. They had multiple husbands and wives and that kind of stuff. It was crazy. I didn't even trust my own parents. It was nuts, right? Everything was so chaotic and uncertain, right, that I found comfort in things that were certain, and that is the truth. And I had a period of my life where I was not a good kid, and I'm 43 now, and holy shit, stuff from when I was 8 still bugs me, because I say, man, I made a bad decision on that, and it still fucking bugs me. I mean, if that bugs me now, could I go to sleep at night selling bullshit and lies? Fuck no, I couldn't. But these guys don't know that, right? I'm just some guy on the internet that's making money off of a product that they don't think has sound science. And so, you know, I have to like not take that to heart, because these guys don't know who I am. But I'm telling you who I am. And here, look at my eyes. There's the camera right there. I'm not a fucking liar. And if you say that to me in my face, I will do something about it. Plain and simple. I was in the military for 12 years, and you know, the honor, courage, commitment, integrity, stuff that they preach to try and get their guys to fall in line. I didn't have to listen to that. I didn't have to fucking listen to that, because I was already there. And I did some dumb shit in the military that should have got me in a lot of fucking trouble. A lot of trouble. And I didn't get in trouble because I was straight up and honest. And it blew people away. I had one time, this is a funny story, in the Navy. I'm in bed. I was the leading petty officer for electrical division. And so I had 8 to 12 guys under me on the submarine, and we owned every electrical system on the boat, pretty much. We didn't actually own it, because there were divisions that had their electrical, like radio had their own, and I lost my connection there for a second. He can fix it. Those guys can fix anything. So my guys were always getting hammered. And one day I got woken up. I finally got sleep after like 36 hours of drills. Everyone was exhausted. I'm fucking beat. And they're like, hey, Petty Officer Sia, I need you to sign this entry in the log. And this log is a deficiency log. Things are broken on this thing. So I have to acknowledge that there's a deficiency, that something's broken on the ship, so that there's a record showing that they told me, and then we could do something to fix it. It was a fucking light bulb. A fucking light bulb was out. 1 out of 2 in a fixture, the light bulb was out. And they woke my ass up to tell me, hey dude, this light bulb's out. I lost my shit. Like, everyone's trying to sleep and working our asses off, and you're going to tell us a fucking light bulb? Change the fucking light bulb, right? Don't fucking wake people up. So what do? I tell the motherfucker to give me that fucking book. I jump out of my rack in my underwear. I go to the control of the submarine. Okay, now we're on station on mission, and I'm in my fucking underwear. And I go up to the guy. A lieutenant was on watch as he was operating the on the dive. And I walked to the chief's boat, took that fucking log. I tore half down the command passageway and one half down the ladder by radio. And I cussed that motherfucker out, and everyone on the con stayed in my fucking underwear. Now that ain't fucking allowed. Let's just get that out there. That ain't allowed. For one, I'm in my goddamn underwear on the con of a fucking nuclear attack submarine, right? They ain't fucking allowed. And I cussed out the senior enlisted guy on the entire fucking boat and some junior officers. Like, that shit, that doesn't fly, right? I didn't get in trouble. I didn't get in trouble because in about 5 minutes after I'd done that, I realized, oops, I fucked up. And so I went to the second highest ranking officer on the boat, and I said, XO, I made a mistake. I fucked up. This is what I did. And I told him, and his eyes got really big. And I said, I'm sorry, and I will apologize to the people in watch, the chief of the boat and everything. I was like, I'm sleep deprived, and I was just, woken up at the wrong time, in the wrong mood, and I made a bad call, and I absolutely did. And I said, I'm going to fix it by doing these things. I listed out some stuff that I felt would be a appropriate corrective action for that type of behavior, including fixing the book. And if I can't fix the book, rewrite the whole fucking book, which is like 60 pages of single line entries, right? That'd be a nightmare. Luckily, I got the book fixed. And he said, all right, well, I appreciate you coming to me. Don't do that shit again. And it sounds like that you got it handled. Now, chief of the boat, he's been on watch for 4 hours, right? He was only on watch like a half hour, an hour by the time this happened. So he had to wait 3 hours. he just sat there and stewed and got angrier and angrier and angrier, you know. He was a fucking mystic anyway, so fuck him. Anyway, so everyone's on watch stewing and getting angry about it. They finally get off watch. They go to the XO, and he's like, XO, petty officer C. And XO's like, yep, I know what he did. I already handled it. Oh, man. That poor motherfucker, the chief of the boat, was really, really angry. Because he wanted to have something to say about what my corrective action was. So, anyways, my integrity prevailed there because I owned up to the mistake. And yeah, I short-circuited the chain of command a little bit. But above the chief of the boat is the XO, and then the freaking the CO, the captain. So, anyways, speaking of integrity, I just ran a red light. All right. Anyways, you got any questions for me? I got lots of stories I could tell. If you guys want to hear more stories about Navy life and stuff, but I don't think that's why people are on this channel. It's just internet shit, people being stupid. Don't take coolant from cylinder 4 and put it in the water pump. Oh my god! Because we do the same thing with cylinder 3 already. Fucking idiots, man. So I don't know. I guess what's the takeaway from this? You know, I see her the whole time tell you, believe me, believe me. And obviously, if you already don't believe me, then you probably still don't believe me. So, and then again, if you don't believe me, you're probably not watching the channel. So, is the video, you know, worth a damn to make? I don't know. Yes, I am working the shop today. Igor, are you gonna stop by? I am on my way to my friend's shop first to help him with this truck. My friend Dave, actually, he was my old tech at MPS. Dave, he likes to lower trucks, so he does a lot of bagged and body dropped and chassis notched and whatever trucks. That's what he does. He built a really sweet C10, excuse me, that was really nice, I thought, and he ended up selling it. And he had this, it's a Ford F100, I forget what year it is, 70 or something like that. It's a Ford F100 that he's got these gigantic 20-something inch deep dish wheels, and he's notching the frame, and actually not notching the frame, he's actually the whole frame routing, so it's not just a notch, right? So we're taking the frame, lopping it off, and restructuring it to go around the rear end, so that when it's fully laid out, the rear end is up higher than the base of the cab, basically. And so I'm going to look at it with him today. We're going to do some geometry and see how to make this thing fit really nice. Oh, that's funny. I just saw a blue C10 looks fucking identical to his that he just built. That's lowered too. That's funny. Anyways, so we're gonna look at that today, and then I'm gonna go to the shop, and we're working on a GTR, R32 GTR, doing ignition and standalone and flex fuel. You know, 1300cc injectors. It's got a GTX 3584 RS turbo on it, which is a pretty big turbo. And then we're doing some other projects. I have some tools that I've made over this last few days. I have a cam seal tool that I designed that's getting the prototype cut here pretty soon in the next few days. I designed my first ever dress-up component, right? Like, I am not someone that usually does things for dress-up. I'm someone that does things for problem solving. Well, there was a problem with the way this shit looked. So I don't know if you guys know, but IAG has these clear timing covers. And a lot of people want to buy these clear timing covers. They think they're really cool to see the stuff inside turning and spinning. But I'll be honest with you, it's fucking ugly under there. So I had a customer email me and say, hey, can I take off my ABCS gears and put on regular gears? Not regular gears, but adjustable gears. I was like, fuck no, you can't do that. First off, the oil's going to spill out the sides and you're going to have a huge oil leak. But two, your cars are going like shit. Why make it run bad when you have perfectly functioning ABCS that bronzes your power band, gives you a good idle, faster turbo spool, more top end horsepower? I mean, like, ABCS is the shit. Why would you get rid of that on something you drive? Because you want to like look at something pretty spinning, right? Oh yeah, it's live. Yep. So I said, that's fucking ugly. Maybe we can anodize the factory gears, right? Make them look pretty. What about that ugly ass metal plate on top of them that controls the oil and stuff? That's really ugly, and those things corrode and look really shitty. So I made some plates. I made ABCS cam gear, bolt cover plates that bolt to the front of the ABCS gear. I made the 3-bolt and the 4-bolt one for intake and exhaust. I made them look really cool. We're gonna anodize them, various colors, and I'm gonna start selling them here pretty soon. So that's really exciting. My first dress-up component. But the problem was the shit was ugly, and the fix was make it not ugly. So I guess that fits with my my operating, my MO, my modus operandi. So or whatever the hell it is. So 86 cover plates, cam seal installer tool. I made a different cam seal installer tool. There's a lot of them on the market. They're like 40 bucks or so. That it's just a loose tool that you hit in there, trying to get the cam seal in. They work pretty good, but I thought, I can make this better. And the tool's gonna be a little more expensive than the other ones on the market. But if you look at like the Kentmore one, it's made of plastic. It deforms after a few engine installs. They get pretty beat up. And so I'm designing one out of steel and aluminum, a 7075 probably, aluminum with a steel guide pin, and the guide pin screws into the cam, and the tool slides over the guide pin, and it keeps the tool straight, so that when you first start putting that cam seal in, if you're a little bit of an angle, it won't cock it in and push it in. Because sometimes, even with the right tool, you start pushing in that seal, and if the tool's off of it and the seal kind of bites into the housing a little bit, it might push one side in further than the other. And even when you're sitting there trying to tap it in with the seal or with the tool, that one side's already pushed in further than the land on the tool, and then you have a crooked cam seal. Then you got to either push in further and hope they don't get in too far and block the drain holes, or you got to pull out and start over again, and that sucks because usually you've got sealant on the cam cap, the cam bridge. So we don't want to have that happen anymore. So I have a guide pin that's a hex that goes into the cam that you actually use the tool to screw in too. So no other tools are needed. You use tool to screw it in. It keeps it straight. It's got a less than a 2 thou fit, so it's like 0.01 degrees, I think it was, or 0.13 degrees of potential misalignment, which is jack shit, right? Based on the amount of engagement on the pin and the total tolerance, you can figure out how far that tool can tip and rock, and it's only 0.13 degrees. So you will always have a straight cam seal install, and I'll build one for the oil pump seal as well. Most people take the oil pump off when they do it, but sometimes if you put the oil pump with the seal on it on your crankshaft, you can easily fold the lip over on the oil pump seal and induce a huge freaking leak, and that sucks ass. So if you put the seal on with the pump already on, then you're way less likely to damage the seal and get an oil leak. So this tool will make it easy to install the oil seal over the crankshafts now. So that's the other one. And then we might do one for the rear main, but that's a big chunk of aluminum, to build one off of. So I got that. I got the cam covers, and I'm gonna apply for my FFL and my SOT because I started designing suppressors, and I've got some really sweet ideas, and I want to. I know this is gun stuff now, right? But I got a bunch of gun stuff I want to make, and I started doing some stuff in SolidWorks that I think would be really awesome. And I love guns, so we'll do that before they completely outlaw guns. And just realized I forgot my hat and my beanie. Oh well, I'll have a fro by noon. My hair is unruly, it's so long. I said as long as COVID is going on, I'm not cutting my fucking hair. So it's really long now. I did cut the sides a little bit because I had these wings. It looked like Krusty the Clown when I put my hat on. And or Sideshow Bob, I don't know, either one of them. I just don't want to do that. But the top is still long and the back is long. I got this long ass shit going on. Someone said, are you growing a mullet? I was like, apparently I am. Where is this shop? I know she's down the road here somewhere. Yeah, I think it's a 69 or 70 Ford F100, so I'm really excited about that. Oh yeah, my plates too, I forgot about that. Is it worth it to buy an ATM super damper versus the OEM one? Thinking about the billet ones, since they have no rubber. Oh, I passed the shop. There it is. So the short answer is yes. I have a video about damper weight and about the importance of damper weight and flywheel weight. So I recommend watching that, because if you reduce the weight of the pulley in your flywheel too much, then your crankshaft speed becomes less consistent, and you can trigger misfires, and eventually it's possible to get bearing damage. Main bearings, usually. I have the ATI on, no, I have the fluid damper on my car personally. And I've run the fluid dampers and the ATIs on many cars. My Corvette has an ATI super damper on it. You know, there's no fear of that thing coming out. I've had a lot of factory dampers separate, or the belt drive separates from the damper, and that's bad news when that happens, that's for sure. It can fuck up your accessories. It often screws up the crankshaft snout. It can mess up a lot of stuff. Sometimes it'll shoot off and go through the radiator, or into the fans, I mean, and potentially if you have something else, you can damage radiators. So yeah, I like the pulleys, the ones that are heavier than stock or around the same weight as stock, close. I like those a lot. But that's my opinion based on vibration analysis that we did on our airplane engines. I know the airplane engines are not cars, but it was a Subaru 4-cylinder, and we had why those well-known companies that makes the light ones? Yeah, I mean, not everyone has that same integrity like I was talking about earlier, right? People want light, so some people buy light shit, and I don't think they're good. And like I said, I'm about to tell you why. When we were doing our vibration analysis on our airplane engines, what happened is, as we lightened the rotating assembly, the crankshaft speed would have these large variations at low RPM. It's called torsional, based on the instantaneous crankshaft velocity. So what I'm saying is that the crankshaft is spinning clockwise if you're looking from the front, but it's actually speeding up and slowing down. It's not going backwards, but it's going faster, then slower, then faster, then slower, and faster and slower. And that creates vibrations in everything that's connected to it. And those vibrations were very damaging, that we found, as we would operate the engine in those ranges where the vibrations were the worst. And the lighter the rotating assembly, the more those vibrations existed. And that is the nature of torsional vibrations. So the Subaru crankshaft is already this freaking long. It's already really, really light, 18 or 21 pounds based on which one you got. And they don't need to be lightened. You know, like a KA's got a much larger crankshaft with counterweights on it, right? I mean, it weighs a lot more. You know, a K20, a K24, almost every inline 4-cylinder's got a larger, heavier crank with counterweights on it. And those counterweights are the same weight or approximate weight as the piston and rod traveling up and down. Well, the Subaru doesn't have that. The Subaru doesn't have that piston traveling up and down, or have the counterweight that needs to counteract that. It has the other piston on the other side doing it. So the crankshaft is already way lighter than any crankshaft of any other engine, 4-cylinder engine. I had some guy go, well, Harley cranks are lighter. Like, fuck, obviously it's a V2, you know. And Volkswagen cranks are pretty light too, but they're definitely longer as well. Anyway, so it's already super light crankshaft, and you don't need to lighten it more. I mean, the thing's already rev. You put like a 14-pound flywheel on it, those things rev pretty freaking fast. And it isn't worth it to rev those things that fast, because the piston and rods are so heavy that when you get that torsional vibration, those heavy pistons and rods start oscillating and rattling on the thing. It's the best way I can describe it without graphs. Whereas other engines have smaller, lighter pistons and rods, narrower bore. Subaru's got a 4-inch bore, right? It's a gigantic bore for a 4-cylinder. Who has that? I mean, our pistons weigh like 390 to 430 grams. It weighs as much as a small block Chevy. So, in a lot of cases, heavier than a piston in a small block Chevy, right? What 4-cylinder has that? Like, none. The EJ, that's it. The EJ has that. So I have this gigantic piston that's usually reserved for engines with gigantic crankshafts. And I have this gigantic piston on a small crankshaft, right? And I have the rods. The rods aren't crazy long. They're only, 130.5 millimeters, or if you do mine, 132.5 millimeters. And they usually weigh in somewhere around 600 grams or so, based on the manufacturer of the rod. Anywhere from like 570 to 700. So the powder is pretty heavy, but still, like, that's a lot of weight to have slinging on this tiny crankshaft versus when you have similar weight on a gigantic crankshaft with counterweights and that kind of stuff. So you hear those really fast revving engines. They have really light stuff. They also have way more cylinders usually, and they have a heavier crankshaft in relation to the piston and rod size than the Subaru does. So there's just this imbalance that's created when you accelerate and decelerate a big piston and a rod, and that crankshaft like this. Instead of a nice smooth RPM, you get this waver, and you always get a wiggle. But when you lighten up that rotating assembly with a lighter pull and a lighter crankshaft, a lighter flywheel, you get a much larger wiggle, and that can mess things up, plain and simple. So that's why I don't use them. And then someone said, let me see, cooling mod, good. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you were loving it. I worked very hard on that. I took 18 years of engine building and data analysis and took this engine apart and back together and hundreds of times to realize, oh, that's why the cooling is screwed up on it. That's why cylinder 4 fails so much. So I'm glad that you're liking it, and I hope that you have a little more peace of mind. Obviously, if it's tuned to the ragged edge, then there's not much that can help it regardless. But with a good solid tune and these protections, especially IAT relocate too. I know I don't talk enough about that, but the IAT relocate is really, really important. Getting the intake air temperature post intercooler is a huge step in protecting your engine. So IAT relocate helps minimize knock in the entire engine, whereas the cylinder 4 coolant mod helps minimize knock in cylinder 4. Does it prevent it? No. Does it reduce it? Yes, and that's the key, right? Cylinder 4 is still the closest one to the knock sensor. Cylinder 4 still needs to be the most aggressive cylinder. But when we start making more and more horsepower with these engines, that margin of aggression climbs. And we don't need it to be up here anymore. We can have that margin back here again, right? So at 300 horsepower, we got this margin, and 600 horsepower, we got this margin. That's power that we're leaving on the table in here, right? This is power that's not available to us anymore. Bring that down. Keep it the most aggressive with programming. Keep it the most aggressive with something you can control, and that's programming. Be it fuel, be it spark, whatever, right? Take out the variable, the coolant. Take out the fact that you can't control, which is having it too aggressive due to extra coolant, and leave it more aggressive in the program so that you can control. Adjust that threshold yourself, or have your tuner do it, obviously, right? But the person tuning the engine can adjust that threshold and keep it the most aggressive, but still unlock the power that's available, or that should be available, that you're losing otherwise. I hope that helps explain more of the operation. I know you didn't ask for that, but I hope that explains a little more of it, and all that. So anyways, I'm at the shop. My signal's not crazy strong here, so I have no idea how pixelated I am. I'm gonna walk in here and see the truck. I have no idea if he's gonna be happy or grumpy, because Dave can be cranky, and so we're gonna see if he's cranky. I'm gonna take you with me. We'll do that, and let's see what happens. So they call him Hater Dave, right? That's been his name forever because, oh, that was close. That's a pile of dog shit right here. Let me turn this camera around. Pile of poop right there by the door. Almost stepped in it. Be a line for me. Look at that. Whoop. That was left there just for me. Or maybe it was my superior parking job. So my friend Dave, he actually owns an electrical place, DNA Electric. He does a lot of stuff. He's really good. He's really fast, actually. Lutron Pro. Like, his house has all the little keypads that control lights all around the house and stuff. So let me see. So here I am at Dave's shop. So if you need some electrical work, Dave's the guy to do.
Hello?
Oh, he's on the phone, so I'm not gonna talk too loud.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
So this is a frame table that Dave made. He used this on his C10 as well, and now he's using it on this Ford. And as much as I don't like Fords, this is still pretty cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
So he puts the frame on the table, and then he fixes it to the table so it doesn't move or shift. And then he can lop off the back end here, and then alter the geometry. And so back here, it's also affixed to the table as well. So
Yeah.
the frame stays in line with where it was before, front and rear. So you
Okay.
stick it to it,
All right.
doesn't move, cut the middle stuff out, and change the frame. So now there's room for an axle to go in here. So when it's aired out, he can hopefully take those beautiful rockers there and slam them on the asphalt. Say hi, Dave.
Hi.
You're live on YouTube.
Who's that? Oh.
Yeah, and I mean, there's like so many people in here watching right now too. Yeah, all 13 of us.
Great.
Yeah. So this is the rear end that we were talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Looks like you, oh, are you trying to attach those two pieces right there? Is that what you're trying to
No,
get?
that's just to hold it together.
Right, I know that's holding it, but we were talking about yesterday on the phone.
No, you can see up here.
Oh, in the front.
I already got it kind of templated.
Gotcha.
In there.
Oh, okay. So you're trying to go up and over. Now, is this going to be a straight front axle or independent front?
IFS.
It is IFS? That's cool. What year is this again?
70.
70? Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I told this gigantic audience, is that it was a 70.
These
F,
are-
F100, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. These are the new Corvette hubs.
Oh, nice. I had some of those.
With some nice Corvette calipers.
Now, these are the factory style?
Yeah.
Are those C5 then?
Yeah.
So they look familiar. Oh, I recognize that logo, but
No, that's CPP, Classic Performance Parts.
gotcha.
They put a sticker on
Yeah. You gonna peel it off?
it. Fuck yeah.
Put your sticker on it. Is that the 5.3?
Yeah.
That's the one that runs that you're gonna be selling here pretty soon?
Yeah, I haven't tested it yet.
Oh, okay. Cool. Are those the wheels?
Yeah. Those are the fronts. We're gonna paint the spokes Ford blue.
Oh, nice. I see that they're raw, so I was confused
Yeah.
at first. Are they two-piece?
Technically, yes.
But you can't take them apart now because there's tires
No,
on them.
No, they're welded in the back.
Oh, they're welded on. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. That's cool.
And then this is where I had to fix them.
You had to fix them? The weld?
Yeah, because it was leaking air.
Oh.
Spend $3,000 on wheels and they leak.
That's fucking stellar. Sounds like some of my competitors. So where is the back wheels?
He's having trouble mounting them.
Oh, because they're so wide and deep?
So he's getting a piece of 3 foot by 3 foot 1/4 inch steel plate and gonna put it on top of the tires with the
Machine?
forklift and push the tire down over the wheel.
And so what size are they?
20 by 12.
20 by 12s on the back? And the fronts are those 8s or what?
8.5.
20 by 8.5? That's cool. That's kind of cool. Wish I could zoom this camera out. It's like permanently zoomed in. Zoom out. Can I go wide angle? Nope.
Your
Nope, I see.
YouTubers probably want to see more Subaru, less Ford.
I mean, you know, pixels aren't too bad. Oh, good. Let's see. Have you? Oh, I'm leaving this on the first. Seen that Australian EJ engine? Or was it 12K? Yes, yes, I have seen that one. It's a D-stroker actually, but they de-stroked it even more. They went with a EJ 16 crankshaft, so it was de-stroked even more than the 2.3s that I did. That thing is way de-stroked. It's pretty cool. It definitely rips. And now that's something that you have to be aware of, right? Like no engine can operate in an infinite band of RPM. And when you look at 12,000 RPM, you have a lot of inertia in a flywheel. So that flywheel, if it's really, really heavy, and it's going really, really fast, there's a lot of force pulling that thing apart. And in cases like that, you often have to go to a lighter flywheel to prevent just a centrifugal force alone from tearing that thing apart and shooting it through your neighbors. I'm sure some people have seen the video of that car on the dyno where the flywheel broke and a piece of the flywheel came flying across the dyno shop and hit the owner right in the neck and severed the carotid artery, and he died, bled out like on the spot. One explanation of the video said, "Oh, the turbine wheel broke," but it wasn't that. It was actually the flywheel that broke. So there's a lot of force in the flywheel. A friend of mine, Chuck, used to race this Neon that actually Dave we used to work on that with me too.
Chuck. I love Chuck.
Yeah, I had a stroke, man.
I knew Chuck way before you did.
I know you did. But yeah, he can't race anymore. He had a stroke.
Oh, that sucks.
I know, it totally sucks. He's a good dude. Anyways, he had this NASCAR Neon that we raced, and I tuned it and actually raced it for a couple of races because we were trying to figure out what was wrong with it. There was a charging system problem and a suspension issue, but Chuck would always just lap everybody on the track with it. What you doing?
Trying to level this frame up and brace it better.
Gotcha. Anyway, so he was racing one time, and they were taking this Neon 2.4 NA engine that they had some of the SRT4 engine stuff on for the manifold for more flow and a couple other things, but it had to be NA, so they couldn't turbo it. So it was like 13-to-1 compression on race gas with a gigantic 280 something or 290 something cam. Thing loped really aggressively, and it made it really good power for this NA Dodge motor. Anyways, he was running that thing to 9,000 RPM plus, and he was coming to the front straight at Evergreen, and the flywheel exploded. Now that engine is transverse, right? So the flywheel is on this plane, and it was on this plane right next to his foot. And when that flywheel exploded, it tore the hood in half, it tore the belt housing in half, it went through the front of the car, through the radiator, hit the car in front of him in the rear window, hit the crossbar of the guy's cage, broke the fucking cage of the car in front of him. Okay, that's how much energy is in this flywheel. It also broke his foot when it hit the floor next to his foot and folded up the bottom of the car. So like this flywheel had a lot of energy in it, and he was only going to 9 grand. So those guys with the 12K thing, they have to reduce the weight of that flywheel, because otherwise they could potentially cut their car in half if that thing comes apart. And so it just makes sense in that case. But the engine is not going to be a very good idling machine. It's just not. And to turn to 12K, you gotta have pretty good sized cams. And so that engine's not gonna be a good low RPM engine. I bet it probably idles at 1,500 RPM or something, 1,400 RPM. And it would have to, otherwise it's just gonna be really, really bad. Also, when you start getting up there in the RPM, your injectors have to be really big because there is less available time to put fuel into the engine. You know, one cycle doesn't last long enough for injectors to put fuel into the engine. So at 500 horsepower, it's going to take even more injector than it would have taken if it was 500 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, because now you only have half as much time to inject the fuel. So you would need twice as much injectors. And again, when you have bigger injectors, idle quality suffers. So you really can't have an engine that operates in all RPM bands. You got to pick, and especially in a V motor. The horizontally opposed motor is better for a wider range of operation because it doesn't have those counterweights on the crankshaft. It doesn't have the secondary harmonic that's developed by the difference between the counterweights and the piston and rods, because the piston and rods stay the same weight and they counteract each other in the boxer. Where in a V or an inline, that counterweight has to counter the weight of the piston and rod. But that piston and rod, they weigh a different amount as it gets slinging, right? As speed increases, they get heavier and heavier. And since the piston is traveling straight up and down, whereas the counterweight is spinning, the rate that those weights change as RPM increases starts to separate. The weights start to diverge, and so then you develop another vibration as RPMs increase. So when you build a V or an inline motor for high RPM, it's going to vibrate like a motherfucker at low RPM. Or vice versa. You build one for low RPM, and you run to high, it's going to vibrate up there. And that's where the boxer actually excels, because it doesn't have those problems. That secondary harmonic does not exist. Did I answer that question too good? Or not good enough? Might want to check the recent photos. That flywheel did explode. Oh, well, there you go. They had a custom crank. Well, they started off with the EJ16. I remember that when they first started doing it. Now, whether they have gone through more than one iteration of the build, I would say probably. They're turning to 12,000 RPM, and it's still a Subaru oiling system. So I would say it's almost guaranteed they've gone through more than one engine on that. Let's see what we got. I build my long block. Let's see. With Travis right now, I like learning tuner stuff. Is IAT sensor okay in a top mount? Oh, I do it in top mount all the time. That's just the most important place to do it. You do it in the top mount, just below or just above the throttle body in the end tank that goes, so it's after the intercooler. Yeah, we put them in the bottom because they look ugly as shit on top, and they often don't fit with the shrouds and that kind of stuff. However, I do have a new sensor now that I sell on my website that's better looking. It's a black plastic one with a modern connector. It's not the gigantic GM bronze sensor that looks really hideous. But yeah, you need to put it in the end tank. It needs to be in a position that it can monitor the temperature as it leaves the intercooler so that we get the most accurate temperature possible in an engine. Now, in the factory location, right, the air comes in from the engine bay or from your horn or wherever it's coming from. Then it gets heated up by the turbo and then cooled down by the intercooler. But how much does each of those occur? There's no way to model that because there's too many variables. And so if we just put the sensor post intercooler, we get a much more reliable temperature indication. And that alone helps a ton in saving engines. I try and do it on every car that shows up for a tune. If they got the time or we got the time, I try and talk them into doing that. So we can give them a safer running engine. What are those plates with the holes in them?
What?
Those holes in the plates, what are those for?
Down there?
Yeah.
I was gonna cut this table in half because it takes up a lot of room.
Right.
So I was gonna fold those plates up over the 2x3 box tube, drill my holes so I could bolt it together, and then take it back apart, cut it in half, so that way if I want to make a full table again, I just bolt it back together and it's level.
Oh, neat. And you're gonna do that after this truck?
I wasn't even going to use this truck on the frame table, but I did anyway.
But you did? What were you gonna put it on? Just the asphalt or the concrete?
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to take the frame off, or the cap off the frame, but the frame was so nasty that I did anyway, so I could sandblast it.
Gotcha. So it's sandblasted right now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then are you shortening the bed on this one too?
I already did.
You did?
Shortened it 1 foot. Just 1 foot in front of the rear wheels.
Oh,
So
up there?
7-foot bed.
Gotcha. Now,
You can
and you're
see-
cutting the bed, or you've got a shorter
You can
bed
see
for
right
it?
here, this is where I actually cut the frame and re-welded it, and then I back after it.
Neat.
No, I haven't cut the bed yet. It's sitting out in the yard.
I saw it. I'm parked in front of it, next to a big pile of dog shit. I almost stepped in and get out of the
Oh,
car.
I saw that too.
Big Snickers bar laying on the ground, ready for me. Cool. Any other questions before I secure the stream? What do we got going on? Let's see. I thought they had a custom crank. We talked about that already. You might want to check their flywheel exploder. That's awesome. I do want to see that. Same with injectors. Is with rotaries. 3 injections. Oh, 3 sections. Crazy small injection times at high RPM. Yep. Yeah, that's a common problem for anything that turns high RPM. Yeah, injectors don't flow in cc's per revolution, right? They flow in cc's per minute. The faster the engine's turning, the less time you have for the fuel to inject. This is your custom wrap on your snowmobile too? Boy, this one is so zoomed in. That's pretty cool. Little gaudy. But, you know, all the snowmobiles on the mountain look the fucking same, so might as well make yours look different. Snow machine. Sorry, I should say snow machine. That's one. All right, I think if that's it, if anyone has any more questions, I'm gonna close the stream and get back to work. We're going back to the shop today and do some more work on, like I said, that GTR and some Subarus too, and then some engine builds as well. We got like 4 or 5. Shit, it might be more than that. I think it actually might be 6 engine builds going on right now that we have to do. The finger in front of the camera, that's always really sexy. We got a bunch closed decks, pin mains, 1/2-inch head studs, and then a couple with 14mm head studs and firelocks. This year, this spring and summer, there's going to be a lot of high horsepower Subarus coming out of the shop. We got our new techs. One of the new techs started just last week. Another one started a few weeks before that. We had a bit of a lag time there between employee as they had to finish other commitments before they came on board. But it's looking good. I'm really excited for the future in that. I got another fabricator who's also good. And we got guys that have more experience with the Nissans and that kind of thing, so there's gonna be a lot more GTRs coming through the shop, and it's a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun this summer. I think we're gonna have a good time. Also, I'm doing a track day. Yeah. There's a track day at the Ridge on the 10th of August, I believe it is, or April, and we're gonna go do that. I think I'll probably just drive the Vet. I haven't done a track day in the Vet yet, so that should be fun. The RS is going to be taken apart because I'll be doing the 6-cylinder swap in it, so that won't be available. And I don't have any Subarus that are track worthy right now. The cooling system just isn't up to snuff on them, so I'll do the Vet. And my friend will have his Subaru there that I built for him. That should be a lot of fun. What else? Oh, there's a meet coming up at the end of the month over in Seattle. I think they call it Spring Fest or something like that. It's March 26th or 7th, I think. And we're going to have a handful of cars there for that. I'm buying another Subaru. I know, right? I'm buying a 2015 STI from a friend down in California. He got popped on the drive-by, referee. The cop pulled him over and the car didn't pass emissions, so they refed him on the side of the road. And he's like, fuck this, I'm not putting the car back to stock. There's way too much money in this, I can't do it. So he's just telling me the car as is, I'll drive down, bring it back, and then I'll return it to stock. And, first I'm going to do some stuff with my cams in it, do some before and afters, and then take that engine out, put it in the hill climb car, return that car to stock, and drive that one out or sell it. We'll see how that goes. I think that's it. Yeah. So thank you very much for hanging out, and have yourselves a good day.